What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Flying Brian's Garage. Part 2 of the general build. I've got the engine kind of hanging there waiting. I've decided I'm going to lower this front end some. So I think I'm going to do an axle flip and flip everything. And see if I can make that work in this front end. So the slamming the front end process is going pretty good. Couldn't flip the axle, and I realized that my good straight one that I had, I let Shaggy have it for that build. So what I did was I came in here and I heated up the angle there, and I bent it and I welded in a stabilizer. So, and then just flipped it over. I'm doing the same with the other side right now. I'm actually working on heating it up. And we're going to do the same with this side and get the steering arm hooked up to it, and then we will have a front end done. Got that stance sitting right. I like it. I did not lower the rear because it just takes too much to have to convert it maybe later on, but for now I got that slope stance, kind of like a old dragster, but much lower than the John Deere and the Dragster was. I really like this setup way better. Oh, it looks mean. This front end is slammed to the ground. Slammed. Alright, I have the engine sitting on there. I'm done. Hungry, tired, done. So next time we will see the engine mounted, pulley on. We will see the front end get finished and the steering. We will also see the hood get trimmed. Alright guys, back on the generally. What we're going to be doing tonight is getting the engine bolted to the frame. We're going to be getting everything kind of plug and played, try to get the wiring hooked up a little bit, and maybe the choke. Also going to go ahead and finish welding the front end together so I can get my steering rod hooked up, get it adjusted, and get steering on this. And then that'll probably be as much as we get to tonight. But here's my idea. I'm going to take and empty, because see, it needs to be recharged. We'll probably do this on camera. I'll take it down in a couple of days. I will take this down to the trail, and we'll just empty this thing out really good, get it depressurized. I'm going to cut this thing open like in here, and I'm going to cut the end off, and then we're going to use this as the exhaust tip. Alright, so far I got the engine mounted and bolted down. Realized that the fuel line was going to be hitting there, so I ended up having to put a vacuum pump on it, because now I have to go up and over. But I got that situated and got me a little bracket in here to hold it up. Got the vacuum pump in, and the gas line ran. But what I got to do now is I got to run the vacuum through here. I'm going to use another metal connector to tap onto another line. I'm going to come up and take the valve cover out, and I'm going to drill a hole, find me a metal nipple, and weld it on, put it back in, and I can just slip the hose right on it. Alright, so we got our vacuum port made into our valve cover. What I did actually was I took the intake, took one of the old intake rods, actually the one that was wore out that I had taken out of this engine. They're metal, you know, so I cut it down to where I needed it, filed the tip down, and I drilled a hole in the valve cover the same diameter as the inside of the tube, and then just centered it up, tacked it on each side, made sure it was right, put a nice bead all the way around it, and then it's nice and sealed off. So we're going to go ahead and get this put back on and hook it up. Alright, so we got our valve cover on, and we have our vacuum hooked up. The whole fuel system is hooked up actually. So our vacuum runs down out of the valve cover and up to your vacuum pump. And the reason I put the vacuum pump on is because I have to run the fuel line up so it don't hit the wheel. Everything clears, just barely. But got the choke hooked up. I do not have a throttle on it yet, or a throttle pedal, but I do have the fuel line coming from the tank there. It's coming out of the wall side there, coming up to the fuel pump, out of the vacuum pump, into the filter, into the carburetor. So in theory it should work really good. A lot better setup than I have on the red 4000, because I actually have the tube hooked into the dipstick tube for vacuum instead of the overhead valve. But yes, this is clearing the everything. I do not have anything stuck down in the head or in the valve cover, so there's no worry of anything hitting. So it should be good, and everything's tightened down. The only problem I have is I didn't realize, I wasn't thinking about welding on the top of the bolt, so now I cannot get in there with a socket anymore. I have to put that bolt in with a wrench, but big deal. It works great, and that's the setup. So I want to take a quick second and pause the video and ask y'all to help me with something. I need y'all to do me a favor. Go down and hit that subscribe button. Smash it. Smash that bell. Go like the videos. You know, tell me where you're from. Say hi. Whatever. Ask me questions. It doesn't matter. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs. And I cannot do that without your guys' help. So definitely go subscribe. Check out Facebook, the Instagram, the Snapchat, and now we have a TikTok. You can just go type in Flying Brown's Garage and you will find me. All the profile pictures are the same. It's easy to find. And yeah, give me some likes, give me some subscribes, and all that good stuff. I'm trying to build this, and I can't build it without everybody's help. So hope you guys are enjoying the videos. You know, got a lot of good videos coming, constantly coming, and I'm constantly sourcing new projects. So stay tuned, and with that being said, let's get back to the video. I was going to go ahead and mess with the steering and everything, but I've decided no. I went ahead and mounted a bracket on. We're going to do a basic, you know, bicycle brake pedal, gas pedal here, because I have a ton of brake pedals, or brake levers, in the back there in the storage, and I also have a ton of brake cable for said applications. So we're going to do that possibly tomorrow. Get out here, run our throttle. I did run a return spring in here for the brake, which this is going to be the brake lever, and I am going to leave the button in here so I can lock it in with e-brake action. I'll be able to lock the clutch down, I'll be able to lock the brake down, and then I changed out the hand grip, made something a lot more comfortable. but I really like how the valve cover turned out. I think it turned out really good, and everything is ran looking great. It's actually a really good looking engine. Turned out to be, at least. So tomorrow we will get back at this and hopefully maybe hear this thing run at some point. Alright guys, back on the unit again. I'm a little, I guess you would say, getting to the point of I don't have much left to do on this thing until I get more parts, unfortunately, because I really want to see it move and ride. But I got to looking at the transaxle. That hydrostat transaxle that I have in here is for an older one, and look how high that pulley is. It's too high. It's like right there at the frame. So there's no way we're going to be able to test it with that transaxle. I've got to get an MST206 or a Spicer, Dana. So I did get the pulley on. So it's front pulley swapped. The rear just has not been done yet due to the transaxle. I have a shifter to run and brakes to run, but I do not want to run those until I get the right transaxle in it, because I gotta know where everything's going to be set up and stuff like that. So we're going to be delayed on getting the belt finished and belt put on, belt system done. We're delayed on the brakes, we're delayed on the shifter. So it looks like all we're going to be able to get to on part 2, which, you know, it's going to be a 3-part series. It just has to be. We're going to get to about 4 more things, and then we're going to call it for this video. We're going to go ahead and get the steering finished and the trajectory and stuff like that. So get the arm out here so I can weld on and it'll actually steer. Get that done. You're going to get the going to get the exhaust done, because we need an exhaust, and I have a really good idea for an exhaust. And we'll probably actually go down into the woods and do what I need to do for the exhaust, and y'all will see that in just a second. And you're probably wondering why you got to go down in the woods for an exhaust. Well, you'll see. Heading down to the trails. We're starting to kind of get these opened up too. So looking forward to the trails opening up for the winter season. It ain't much, but I sure do like riding down here. I actually lucked out. I feel like I got some of the best land in this whole neighborhood. Kill it, because it was a little hard to start cold weather, but so here's our idea. Exhaust tube. This is going to be the tip. I want to sever this here and cut the end off of it and make it the end of the exhaust. So what we got to do, this thing already needs to be recharged. It's old. I saved it, but I was always wondering what I saved it for, and now I know. So we're actually going to go ahead and unload this thing on camera. get my stuff turned around. Alright, let's do it. Is it not gonna? Really? Is it just not pressurized? I don't understand. So I actually found out that the heads are supposed to unscrew, and it was completely no charge in it. So I've got to empty out all the dust. Try not to breathe it. Yeah, it's all like yellow. It's like pollen. Legit looks like a yellowish pollen. Ugh. Alright, we got our first few cuts in place. It can't dump out down and under because of how low it sits now. And the axle is stationary. It's not going to be a pivoting axle. So I'm actually going to run it this way and then kind of down right in here, because then it won't get in the way of my turning, and it's going to run straight back that way. We do have our exhaust end piece. We're going to be cutting the end off this here really soon, and then we will get it rigged up to fit on the end of the exhaust pipe, which I'm really excited about. But I think this is aluminum, unfortunately. That does not sound like a metal to me. So instead of welding this onto the end, I'm probably going to have to find a way to fasten it. And hope it don't melt. Alright, we got part of our header made. We're going to go ahead and mock it back up on here. Get it bolted down. Figure out where I need to add my next piece and where I need to make my cuts. Alright, we've got our next cut made. And I've got it mocked up. I've got to bend that down a little bit right there with a hammer. And then I'll weld that. Then we will get back, because I got to take this back off. Then we'll put it back on to mock it up again to get this cut and figure out which way we're going that way. And once we get going that way, I've got some straight pipe to make it all the way to until we get to the tip. So this is what we got so far for our header. That little spot that was raised up there, I let it heat up, and I took a hammer and kind of formed it down, shaped it, welded it. It's actually turning out pretty decent. It's hard to get my machine down to a low enough setting not to burn holes in this, so I can't really put a solid bead. I'm having to kind of tack it and tack it and tack it and then tack it in other places so these spots don't heat up, burn through. But it's solid. It's just not the prettiest. I am using scrap pipe, so as you see, I've got some better looking pipe in here that has a little bit of pitted rust in it, but then you got this pipe that is really rusty, and I had to tack a hole, a rust hole that was forming, and then you got the other part of the pipe. This pipe and this pipe, these two are actually out of the same line, and I just cut them and converted them and then added this piece in the middle. So it actually is going to look like that. We are quite close to finishing the exhaust. As you see, excuse me, as you see, comes down and down into there and across. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get over there now. I need to add a hanger, cut this down, and install our end. Here's our exhaust. Down, over. Our tip is not completely on yet. I did cut the end off and it answered my question when it did not spark. So we have an aluminum tip. I'm hoping it won't get so hot it'll melt, but we're going to find out because I really want to use the fire extinguisher end. What I did was I took a Dodge thermostat housing and as you see, I cut it because it fit directly over this and directly over the exhaust, so I self-tapered it to the aluminum part, and I'm going to slip this over the exhaust when I get back out here and weld it to it, and then we will have an exhaust, and I'll probably add a hanger in there and then we'll be good to go. But this is what it's going to look like. Just like so. Our exhaust is complete except for a hanger, and we will add that in probably like somewhere in here tomorrow. It's getting really cold out here. But it looks good. It don't dump out on the tire, it dumps out right there at the side. I think it looks cool. Can't wait to hear it. Alright guys, it has been a while. I've been fighting with this thing and working on other projects, and I'm really trying to get this done, but it's just becoming a side project almost compared to everything else I've got to do. I did finally get a good starter on here. It was the starter that was the problem. I was having a problem turning this thing over. I can't remember if I even got that on film or not, but I was turning this thing over and it kept popping fuses, and I figured out that the starter actually was no good. It actually had a magnet busted up and missing inside of it, so I tried to replace it, but the magnet was too thick, can't file it down, and it was binding the starter up after I rebuilt it. So I actually got the old starter off of the 1978 locked up Briggs & Stratton that came off of the JCPenney build. I thought this starter was junk. So what I did was I took it all apart and I cleaned every inch of it. I mean, it looks like a brand new refurb. Cleaned the insides, redid the magnets and the springs and all that stuff, and painted the exterior after getting the rust off of it. You can still see the rust pitting on it, but this starter works like a brand new starter now. So awesome. Got a starter. It does kick over with the key, so we have that to be working for us. But the only thing is, it's popping fuses because the starter's struggling to turn the engine over because of the valves. We did not adjust these when we assembled this engine, and I kind of expected this to end up like this because we didn't adjust them. I just kind of slapped them on there and figured out what I thought was going to be about where it would need to be, and it's not kicking the compression release. So what we need to do is come in here, adjust our valves, get them right, and then I think this thing should run at least bottle fed. I do have the fuel system hooked up. I do have fuel in the tank, and none of it leaks. So we're going to hope that we're going to bottle feed this thing once we get it right, get it to start running, and maybe the fuel system will start activating and start kicking some fuel into the carburetor, and then it'll run off its own supply. Alright, so we're about to do our valve adjustment here. I've got the engine, or I got the spark plug out of the engine. We're about to check the top dead center. You just put a screwdriver in the spark plug hole, kind of guide it, make sure it don't get bound up, make sure it's not rested on the cylinder wall, and it's on the piston itself. Rotate the engine over. On top dead center, it is right there. Alright, so now that we're at top dead center, we want to go for 6/1000ths on each valve. We want just a little resistance. That's good for 6. You'll tighten down your star, a lock down into place, and now you got your 6/1000ths gap. And you come down here to the exhaust. Some nice 6/1000ths, 0.006 on your feeler gauges. Lock that down. Now you have a nice exhaust. Now what we're going to try to do is put the spark plug back in this engine. Look at that. To replace our fuse once again. Alright. New fuse here. So we're going to put a new fuse in the fuse box here. Now we're going to get out a key. And see if we can't turn this thing over. Pop the fuse again. We need to see what the battery rating on this thing. anything wrong with the wiring. Maybe something's wrong with this unit to start with, and I just should have rewired it, maybe. I don't quite understand why it's still turning over slow unless we just, that starter's just no good. I mean, it looks brand new inside of it. I feel like it's good. I feel like it should be good. You know? Let's actually get the leads. My bad, guys. Let's get the leads. Securing my wing nuts here. No way it's holding 14 volts. It's coming down. We're going to see what the thing resides at. 13.5? That sure is a lot for a 12 volt. I mean, I understand they get about 13 on a charging system, but I feel like it's got more to come down. Alright. So when I kick the key, I'm getting nothing on that reading there. Let me replace the fuse once again, because it popped this one too. And we'll see just where to go from here. What I need to do at this point is probably retrace my steps in my wiring here, make sure everything's right before I go ahead and waste another fuse. Alright guys, it's the next day. Couldn't get this thing running last night. We had a whole bunch of crap to go through on the wiring and this, that, and another. It was completely backwards from the way it was when I got it. I just kind of clipped a few things and didn't really check. So I think what happened with this tractor was someone actually couldn't figure out how to wire it back right. Probably got rid of it. And now it's wired correctly. I'm working on getting the starter switch in. I'm bypassing this starter switch. I've got a kill button instead of a start button. I think the kill button is going to be better. And I'm going to use start on the key, but I'm going to have an old style switch. And I'm going to have it up here. Secondary kill button in case the first one kind of, gives me problems. Or I could use it for something else, of course. And this is going to be headlights. I have clipped the main plug off of the engine and just hardwired everything. I'm going to hook the charging system up, and I have a separate fuse for the lights. So I think it's going to work out pretty good. I'm going to go pull a solenoid because I got to get this solenoid. Is not, it's a 3-wire, not a 4-wire. I need a 4-wire solenoid. I'm going to go pull one out of the parts mowers in the back
throw it on, and then hopefully we will actually be ready to start this thing.
Let's hear this thing pop off. Pretty good. Alright, we are in the process of putting on our throttle pedal. I decided I'm not using the handle for the bike brakes. I found a, I do believe this is an old push bar for a commercial building, like an old lock. Alright, we got us a throttle pedal. Everything's reassembled. There we go. Oh yeah, baby. I guess I'm about to go get the hood. Alright, so we brought our hood outside. I had it in the house to do the decaling and everything, but I'm glad I waited because I gotta cut it. I hate cutting the hood like this, but I'm going to have to be able to run it with it on here. And I'm going to have to brace it in the front because I'm cutting out a lot of the bracing. But as you see, those are our marks for cutting, and we're going to do that tomorrow. Now we're also going to drill out for hood pins and good stuff like that. But tonight, what I'm going to do, oh, we also got the headlights hooked up. I got the wire ran up over the motor into the headlights, that way it don't interfere with the exhaust or anything, because usually it runs down through here, but I rerouted it. So zip tied in there, everything's zip tied together and neat. That ain't gonna be hitting a fan or anything of that sort. Throttle pedal is working excellent. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come over here and we're going to go ahead and weld on our tab here for our steering, and it is going to go in like, let's see, so kind of tilt it down so it has an angle to bolt up to the existing steering arm once I modify that. Alright, we are back on this thing another evening. Ended up having to cut this off right here because it's just not the right spot for that. I actually need to put it up here on the shaft, so I've got it cut back off and I'm going to get it up here. Probably like right in there so I can weld it to the little kicker there to keep that from bending. And then we'll get our steering situated, but I did get the hood cut. This is how it is going to look. It is just enough to clear everything on both sides, and it gives me enough room to have my steering, have everything, have my logos and all that good stuff. Did get some hood pins put in. Haven't got the centers drilled out yet, but we will be doing that. We got the gas pedal finished last night, and hangers on our exhaust. We are having a problem with this carburetor flooding. It is not getting a good seal, so we will have to do something about that. But other than that, hopefully get the steering done tonight. So I'd like to show a little on how I actually did this hood. I had to cut it out so much that I actually had to cut 2 of the bracings out for it, as you see. So what I did was, this is a Craftsman LT1000 hood. I snipped off this arm that came out because it did come out and over. I used the little piece that I snipped off and I cut out a chunk of this and brought it together so I could box that in for stability so it don't fold, and it comes right to the corner of my application, or the corner of the bottom of the hood every time on each side. And then I took and I bent just some straight metal bar, flat bar, and drilled some holes and bent these tabs a little bit. Bolts. One of these was long enough for the hood screw, and the other one I had to do self-tappers. And then I folded. There's a little tab that's supposed to stick out with the hood. You can see it right there. I just took a self-tapper, bent that down, ran it through on each side, and now, as you see, sturdy hood. Got a solution for the hood. I think the hood is strong enough to sustain, you know, being open and everything. I think that's gonna solve that problem. We did get our steering done. Here is our steering setup. We came down off of that with a bracket welded all the way around. It's an L bracket, and then I got a piece of metal coming out and hooked to the arm here, and then the arm has been specially made and there is the other end. I only needed a stop on this side, that way it turns equal the same way and works very good. Center of the steering is center of the wheel. So we got us a pretty nice setup here. Alright guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it for this video. We got our hood pins in. I didn't have a drill bit, so I just cut one side, and yeah, they slide on. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. Part 3 will be finishing it up with a transaxle, locking the transaxle, installing it, belt system, shifter, brake, and then the livery. So like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If y'all did, you know, go down there and leave me a like, comment down below, tell me what y'all think about this one so far. It's almost done. We will hear it run again and ride it when I get it running on part 3, but till now we're kind of dead in the water on what we can do. I'm going to take this carburetor off here just in a few minutes and go ahead and try to rebuild it and figure out why it's not sealing off. But go check out the Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and the YouTube, or not the YouTube, but the TikTok. That's what it is. It's TikTok. Search for Fly Brown's Garage and should find me. Most profile pictures are all the same except for the Snapchat. You know, you gotta use that avatar stuff. But yeah, go check out some of the older videos and go subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, and I will see you guys on part 3 or the next one.